Hello, everybody. Welcome to Across the Bifrost, the Mighty Thor podcast, where on each and every episode, we explore the world of Marvel's Mighty Thor. I am one of your hosts today, Ryan Doze.
And I'm Chill Will from Chapel Hill.
Chill Will from Chapel Hill.
I don't have a fun intro like that. I'm Christopher Fazio from Canada.
That's the crew you get today, everybody. We are here for new comics, and boy, do we have some fantastic, kind of confusing stuff to talk through, but a lot of fun books that we're gonna bring to you today. We are going to be talking mainly about two books, and then I know Chris is really excited for the last book we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about Thor issue 23 that came out on March 9th of 2022, just a few weeks ago at the time of this recording. And we're going to talk about Avengers number 54, which came out just yesterday, again, at the time of this recording. Guys, these books that we're going to talk about, the main ones, like, before we do deep dives, what were, like, you step out of these books, like, first impressions, how are we feeling about these books and where these series are going? Chris, what did you feel about maybe walking out of Thor? What did we feel like?
My first thought on all three is that we are just spoiled right now as Thor fans. The stories are different, but they're all great. There's a lot of really cool stuff happening right now. And I think that the writers that they have in charge of everything are just doing a great job.
Yeah, it does feel like we've got so much, like, to be thankful for when it comes to good Thor stories. I mean, he's gonna be owning more space on the comic book racks coming up, in just a few months as well. So man, first impressions coming out of these stories.
Making a push and making sure he's in the limelight on the newsstands and the spinner racks and the comic book stores, because they know that there's some big properties going to hit the big screen. So
there's a movie coming out this year. I forgot.
I don't know if you guys forgot about that, but there's a pretty big movie. Still haven't seen the trailer for it yet, but we're not complaining yet.
A little indie project called Love and Thunder.
Comics, and the Thor is a conclusion to a story arc that we've been following and pretty excited about. Every single issue has been action-packed with this build to a conclusion to the story arc. And then Avengers did as well. I think the Thor one was a little bit more fulfilling for me and had a little bit of a conclusion and a little bit of natural kind of ending, because it's leading into another big issue, the 750th issue of Thor. So they wanted a good conclusion to that battle leading to the next story. Avengers just felt like it was a little anticlimactic for me in terms of how it ended and where it's going to lead next. But Jason Aaron's run on Avengers has kind of felt that way for me, where he's presented a really good ideas along the way, and then the story arcs just kind of fizzle out, and then he goes to the next one. At least that's been kind of my take. It's like, where is this going? Hey, I thought we were going to deal with Submariner. Oh, I thought we had this whole other group that we were dealing with. Oh, we're going to jump to this one. Just a lot of great ideas along the way, but nothing really resolved. And I thought we were going to get a resolution with this Avengers issue, but it just led on to the next one. So, there's some good beats in it, a lot of good stuff. There's some Jason Aaron moments and some good superhero moments that I think will have some long-lasting repercussions. But I enjoy more than Avengers.
Yeah, and we'll definitely dig into Avengers in a little bit, but we got to make sure the headliner gets the first crack at our opinions. So we are going to drop right into the finale of the God of Hammers story. This is Thor number 23, written by the man, Donny Cates, written in a beautiful cover. I think we should spend maybe a minute talking about this cover as well, but penciled and drawn by Nick Klein, who we've said before, like, he is really beginning to, I think, solidify his legacy on the Thor title. When it comes to, like, his Thor looks different and it's definitive. It's distinct from, Thors of past, but that's our creative team for this issue. I want to do a brief synopsis, and then we're just going to talk about what we enjoyed about this issue, maybe the questions we have, and what we're going to take away from this issue going into like Will just mentioned, the Thor 750 that is coming out so soon. And I'm sure we're going to do a big spectacular here on the show for that issue alone. But here's the synopsis of this issue. God of Hammers, part 5 of 5. It is the final chapter in Thor's brutal war against the God of Hammers. And after a horrific and tragic loss, Thor is more determined than ever to finish the fight once and for all. But can he triumph without Mjolnir at his side? Either way, by issue's end, Thor's life will be irrevocably changed. So here's what happens in this issue, everybody. And if you've checked out our new comics episodes in the past, we are going to have some spoilers here. So if you want to go read this without spoilers, please pause this now, go read it, come back and hear our thoughts. But here's what happens in this issue. Here's the climax of the end of this story. Thor is locked in this battle with the God of Hammers, who we know is Mjolnir. It's so many different things. There's so many different entities and embodiments that this persona has taken on, but he is still locked in a fight with her. And that is happening kind of in the present, but the issue actually starts with a flashback. What did you think of this flashback, man? Like it kind of just, it starts in a way different pace than the last issue ended. So we get this cool character moment between Thor and Odin. What was your impression of that little conversation they have about legacies and the hammer and who it truly belongs to? What did you think about that, man?
Yeah, I think it's a classic training montage, and I love a good training montage, whether it's a Kung Fu movie or Luke and Yoda or whatever. These training montage of trying to learn and basically, Thor is trying to learn how to wield this hammer, and for issues way back, going very way back, even Jason Aaron's run, you have this tension between Odin and Thor about whether he's a good dad or not, whether they're worthy gods, who's going to pass on the legacy. There's a deep tension between Odin and Thor. But here in this training montage, you get some really genuine kind of sweet moments between Thor and his dad, where they're trying to teach a father-son moment, almost like they're throwing baseball in the backyard, and they're, here, keep your elbow up, make sure you keep your eye on the ball. It's like, it's the same thing that's going with this hammer. He's trying to teach his son how to use it. He's worthy because he can actually pick it up now and he can throw it and catch it, but he's learning how to use it. And it's just, that was unexpected, because you had this big dramatic cliffhanger at the last issue, and now they let you catch your breath. You open the first page and like, oh, this is what we're doing. And then it makes the end of the book even that much more meaningful or powerful, because of what happened here at the beginning. So
Will mentioned, guys, last issue, it ended with Thor possessing the full power of the Odin force, or the Thor force. We jump back into this fight with Mjolnir, and Chris, like, this first big double page spread we get is Thor just bashing the kind of the lightning Mangog like conglomerate of all the different entities. And like this, the first half of this book feels like a nonstop like rush to the finish. What were some of the high points for you of this fight? I know there's a few for me. I'm sure Will has a few, but like, what were our favorite moments of this fight, guys?
Well, the first thing I liked is that I know we were worried about, is Thor going to be overpowered if this continues too long? The immediate, hey, you're using too much Odin force, you're going to go into the Odin sleep and you're going to be taken out of commission. That was a great way to kind of balance him. Like, he's extremely powerful, but if he burns through it too quickly, then he's done. So I liked that little note, like Donnie's thinking about the things that we're thinking about. He wants it that he brought in Sif's sword and to harness the Bifrost as a weapon.
Yeah, we were wondering whose sword it was. Like, whose sword are we dealing with? And Thor's able to like wrap the Bifrost around Mjolnir, or the lightning like entity, like that. We didn't even know the Bifrost could do that.
Yeah, Bifrost as a weapon, and him calling it a Bifrost to me as if like Silver Surfer's calling it a surfboard, right? Uh,
Right.
it's the similar kind of thing, and Cates has worked on Surfer, so he's kind of tapping into that same kind of idea of Bifrost to me, and he's using it as a weapon, and the power against it's just brilliant. I've never seen Bifrost used that way. I don't know if you guys have or in the
No.
movies. I mean, it's, you can crash it down on somebody or you can destroy it so you can't get to where you want to go, but to actually use it as a powerful weapon was pretty epic.
I mean, then he uses the Bifrost to take them back to Nidavellir, which, and to me, I was like, huh, well, that seems like when we started there, essentially. That's where Mjolnir first strikes, the dwarves and kills Eitri at the beginning of this storyline, which, by the way, the beginning of the storyline was January. Like, it was one crazy thing about talking through these storylines issue by issue is we're like, oh my gosh, that was like, I was reading that over Christmas break here. And now we've come full circle. We go back to Nidavellir, and the Kirby crackle goes nuts in this issue. There is so, like, Nick Klein, it's like Nick Klein decided, you know what? I'm going to make this the most beautiful fight scene that people have seen in a long time. And the way they fight, the bubbles and the oranges and the pinks and the yellows, like the coloring here and the art is so dynamic.
Yeah, Matt Wilson, props to the colorist Matt Wilson for sure.
Yeah. My goodness. I mean, he just it pops off the page in a bright, vibrant way. It's just it's awesome. There's a double page spread here that I just wanted to get your guys' opinions on when Thor kind of figures out how he can defeat Mjolnir. And we had theories about what was going to happen with the hammer, what Thor would have to do to either purge the hammer or get rid of Mjolnir's kind of evil spirit within it, the entity that's caused him so much trouble. He just starts wailing the ground. And he starts to shatter the hammer on purpose to get rid of it. And that double page spread, like, man, we've talked a lot, I feel, about like the big art pieces. This is a storytelling art piece where not only is the hammer shattering, but the panels are like shards of different memories and different things that are happening, all as he's destroying the hammer to get rid of this latest villain. What did you think of that double page spread, man?
Yeah, it's brilliant. My first thought was like, good Lord, how long did it take him to draw this? Like, did he work on it like last year and then finally done? Like the detail, he didn't like gloss over anything. He just put everything into it, and the coloring and the pencils and the inks, and it's just amazing. And so you're starting to get this idea that the reason he's there is he has to unmake the hammer.
Yes.
And I'm getting big Lord of the Ring vibes of unmaking
right.
the ring of, and so I'm like, wow, he's destroying it back to where it was created, going back to where it. So I'm like, and we'll see here in a little bit that it really is. He just pulls. Cates pulls just a scene right out of the Lord of the Rings a little bit later on.
Yeah,
but that's what I was thinking of as this was happening. He has to unmake the hammer and smashing it to pieces along with everything, and it's just a brilliant splash page of art and inks and what's happening. You really feel it. It's one thing to just see something or read a comic or read the text. You look at a page and you can actually feel it in your chest because of the kinetic energy going on.
Yeah.
You're doing your job as a comic book creator,
and it's got to be one of the most beautiful Thor pages we've seen. Like we've looked at so many. This has been a long run, and even Jason Aaron runs before, but this is just like with the bright gold and the pinks and the reds and the crackles and the lightning mixed in, seeing the storytelling around it, the pose, like everything about it is just a perfect culmination for a finale like this.
Yeah, and Chris said it just perfectly there. This is the finale. This is the end of Mjolnir haunting and hunting down Thor, choosing to cause violence and destruction all throughout the 9 realms. And of course, we know there's going to be fallout for that. There's always fallout that conveniently is dealt with very quickly. And then we see Thor just standing there with the handle, and the hammer's completely broken apart. And then he wakes up the next day, and now we start to learn a little bit more about what we're going to be, what kind of the mood is going to be going forward. Because when he wakes up, Loki is there, Frigga is there, and Angela is there, and he's like, I don't need any of your help. I just need to be a king, and I just need to do my job. And they basically say, like, man, just like take the help. And Angela shows him to the throne room. I believe it's the throne room. He takes him there, and she brought him a gift. It's all the shards of Mjolnir stuck back together with this kind of it almost reminded me of the crack in Kylo Ren's helmet. Where it's like a glowing like seared glue, and and what happens at the end, I don't know how you guys felt about this. I was really confused. But when Thor gets down to pray, to talk to Odin, he hears Odin's voice coming from the hammer. And the hammer says, basically, kings don't kneel. And then it says, then he's like, Dad, to be continued.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of the Lord of the Rings moment where he's asleep and there's these black panels, and then he wakes up groggy and sees the room around him with people hovering around his bed. So it's like, Frodo's like, oh, here's our friends. How long have I been asleep? Oh, yay. Where's Sam? And he's like, oh, I made it. And he goes like, well, what happened? So he goes to pray, but man, he leans down, and as Mjolnir was possessed by the goddess of thunder, the thunderstorm, here now we have it repossessed, but by by Odin himself. So at least that's what you think, like that his spirit, almost like you made a Star Wars reference, which makes me happy, but like almost like you're hearing like Obi-Wan or some Jedi calling forth out of the lights, going, hey, here's what's next. So it's a great, there's resolution. He breaks the hammer, he wins, he falls asleep, he rebuilds, he's healing, he puts on his clothes, and what's next? You see the hammer, good, he's gonna get his hammer back, but the cliffhanger of like, Dad, Father, that's you? That leaves
okay.
750. What are we gonna do in 750 in the fallout that's gonna really push them to the next decade or into the summer or into the next story arc, lead to this movie that we're all really excited about. Really, really good storytelling. It was resolute. There was resolution, but it also, like in good comic fashion, leaves a good cliffhanger at the end where you can't wait to read what the next. You're not done. I'm not going to drop this from my pull list. I'm not done with
no.
That was good. I'm good. That was a good run. I'll go.
This is not the point to drop the book.
Not the point to drop it off your pull list. It's the time to pick up and share with friends.
And it's honestly, it's a great use of Odin too, right? Like if the redemption of Odin Borson that Donnie's been on for so long is really complete now. Now he's like if they use him as the voice in the hammer, he's a spiritual advisor to Thor going forward.
Right.
So he's going to be like, when I need counsel, like I'm going to speak to the hammer and it's going to tell me, no, son, I think you should do this. And they can have conversations. He can be a helper, where Mjolnir was kind of a silent powered thing with the goddess of thunder. Now it can help him on his way. It's like Odin said, I'm like, for us, we're never really gone, right? This is what he means.
So Faz just referenced an earlier part of the issue where Thor asks Odin, like, what happens when you're gone? And he's like, I become what I've always been, a legend. And I was like, if you say that with the right inflection, man, that's like super like a weird flex, man. It's like, yeah, I've always been a legend, man, and I'm just gonna stay a legend, man. But no,
I could also still have that tension where he's like, hey, Dad, I need your help. And if he's silent, which there are times when in the Star Wars universe, those force ghosts aren't used like every other minute. They're sparingly. So I don't know if Odin's going to be like every other page going, I'm going to guide you, but there could be times when he prays and God's going to be silent, which happens a lot. And so it's like, come on now, help me out. And you can still build that tension between them. Not everything is perfect from now on.
Yep. And you can still use the tension.
Yeah.
You still use the tension going forward, but Odin's not there as this physical, like almost a get me out of help card.
Yeah.
Which Thor really doesn't love getting help from his dad anyway. But now it's like, what is this relationship going to look like? Because it's never been like this before. How many times in a 60-year-old comic can you say, oh, they've never done that before?
Right.
Like, that's what I love about.
Want to say, like, I hope this is it on destroying the hammer. Can we be done with that? We've done this like 3 or 4 times. We've done it again. We put it back together. If we could take a break from destroying the hammer and let the hammer be its hammer, and that's neat that like Odin is trapped in it, or can use the force through it or whatever. That's cool. That's a neat way of doing it that we had before. Like you said, 60 years of comics. Here's a new idea. But if we could not destroy it, like if in 750 the hammer is destroyed and Odin dies, I'm gonna be really upset. It's like, we just did that. Let it be. Let that
just did this.
I wonder if they're gonna continually have the yellow lines through it to show that it's like remade, or if just going forward they're gonna say, oh, it dried, it cooled, and now it just looks like the regular hammer again.
Yeah, it cooled off, dried, cool. Yeah.
Speaking of speaking of going forward, Will, there's at the end of this issue, they give a little bit of a kind of a commercial for 750, which, like I've said, we're probably gonna go big for that one, because this next issue is going to combine so many of Thor's legendary storytellers. So I just wanted to read the thing at the end, so that if you're a listener and you're like, hey, I've heard you guys talk about this monthly book, but I don't even pick up Thor. I'm like, well, you're going to want to pick up 750, because even if maybe you're not a Donny Cates fan, but you say you're a Walt Simonson fan, Walt Simonson is going to be in Thor 750. There's going to be so many different teams. And here's just a little bit about that issue. Next, it's the 750th issue of Thor, celebrating the Thunder God's 60th anniversary. Thor creative teams of the past and the present come together for the funeral of the almighty Odin. Featuring all new stories by Donny Cates and Nick Klein, J. Michael Straczynski and Oliver Coipel, Dan Jurgens, Walt Simonson, Al Ewing and Lee Garbett, Jason Aaron, and Das Pastoris. So we have a lot to look forward to. And I'm just curious, because we know very little about the details of those stories. But guys, of those creative teams, which, like, we're going to be covering stories involving so many different characters, but I have a feeling it's going to be all under this guise of Odin's funeral. So which person, which story, which creator are you excited to see come back into the world of Thor? I'm curious what you guys think of, what you're excited about.
For me, I'm just really excited to see how they all interact. I think, like, I want to know if it's going to be like somebody's going to get to do Frigga and Sif talking about it. Somebody's going to get to do Beta Ray Bill talking about it. Somebody's going to get to do Thor's reaction, or if they're all coming together to figure out a story that everybody's happy with. And I think either way is going to be really fun. If we've got like Jason Aaron doing one particular character and Donnie getting to do Thor himself, that's cool. If everybody's working together for a big one, I can't even imagine what this amazing gallery of Thor creators together are going to be able to do.
And this kind of teaser image they had at the end is almost, I mean, we're bringing up Star Wars again, but like it's almost like the burning of Darth Vader.
I knew you were going to say that.
But if you look at the hammer, it's not like glowing like yellow lines through it. It looks cool, and the hammer's back together, and that's it. It could just be for that image. But I think for me, I love Oliver Coipel. I love his work so much. I can't wait to see what he does, him back on it. And then, of course, Walter Simonson. I think bringing him back, legendary storyteller and artist from the 80s, see what they do. And yeah, I'm sure it'll be like a $9.99 book that's pretty thick, that's almost like a mini graphic. And then maybe each person will have a 5 to 6 page story to tell, and then the last one will be Kate's at the end, will be the final story that will lead to the next issue, which will be a crossover with what he's doing with Hulk. So I'm wondering how that all kind of fits together, and that they kind of get to close the chapter on this one, and then move on to this kind of big crossover with Hulk, which will be fun.
I agree. And I think that because we know Banner of War is coming after 750, I think we kind of know where the main story is headed. But I'm excited to see a few names that jumped out to me was Al Ewing coming back into the world of Thor. Al Ewing so famously wrote Loki, Agent of Asgard. And he just, he just finished up a multi-year run on Immortal Hulk. Al Ewing is writing Venom now. Like, he's just doing so many different things. Al Ewing is such a great storyteller. I really hope Al is going to do a Loki story. I really want him to do a Loki story. If they're, like Will said, if they're going to go be able to do their own thing, and then maybe Donnie and Nick get the big, kind of continuing story. And I know another guy I'm excited is, like, I know we get Jason Aaron writing Thor in Avengers, but I just really love when Jason Aaron comes back into the world of Thor specifically, and he's able to focus on him as a character. So, I mean, Jason Aaron is always welcome back in the world of Thor. So that's just kind of a little bit of a preview for our next big, 750. I'm sure the three of us will be on here talking at length about that, graphic novel length issue. I hope they do what they did with the Avengers special, and it gets its own glued spine, and they charge way too much for it, and we pay it because we love it. So that that kind of closes the pages, that closes the book on Thor's story. Let's jump back into our Avengers story. This issue of Avengers, we actually get to talk about Thor. Oh my gosh, how spectacular. Will, you're kind of our Avengers guy. So, like, this Death Hunters storyline, where have we been in the last few months leading up to the, the finale of, finale feels a little grand for what this was. But the kind of the end of the chapter, we'll say, on this latest Avengers storyline.
Yeah, so legacy issue 754, issue 54 of the Avengers, and it's the final chapter in this, the Death Hunters story arc. So this is part 4. So it's a relatively short story arc, 4 issues. Most of the time they're 6, but that's kind of the standard. But this one's 4 issues, and so this is the conclusion of the Death Hunters story arc. And what had happened was the Avengers have been kind of split up, and the teams going a different direction. And the multiverse masters of evil, the most doom of all dooms, invaded Earth 616 to hunt down Deathlocks, who are trying to warn the Avengers that this is coming, and that there's these allusions to Avenger Prime, and the doom of all dooms is coming to kill them. So you get the picture that this team of multiverse masters of evil aren't necessarily there to kill the Avengers as much as they are to kill the Deathlocks.
Yes.
And once they kill the Deathlocks, then they can disappear and get ready for another day. And I think that was, for me, was a little bit of like the anticlimactic issue. They wrapped up this, and I guess, okay, it's the Deathlock. It's the Death Hunters. They're hunting down Deathlocks, and once they complete that, then that happens. But they leave, they take off to another day. They plant some seeds or some ideas there as they come in. But even on the cover of Avengers 54, up in the top left corner, it says Judgment Day is coming. So it's building to another big event, another big story arc that's coming around the corner. So in this one, they'd been split up with these different battles with different parts or people of the Avenger, teammates of the Avengers. With this one, you pick up where our version of Thor 616 is fighting against evil Thor that has a glowing hammer that has flames coming out of it, that made me think of the last issue we talked about. I was like, is trapped in this evil hammer? What's going on here? So that was, there's a little bit of continuity there because it made me think about, but the evil Thor is possessed by a dark phoenix, and then Thor is still having mommy issues trying to figure out what's going on with the Phoenix Force of Earth 616 and
yeah.
They're arguing back and forth and can't get along, and so it's a little all over the place when it comes to that. But there's some good moments. If you want evil Thor fighting our Thor, you get it in this book, and then they're still arguing on the side of what's going on. Chris, Faz, you said you had some questions about this or had some thoughts about this.
Yeah,
you read it. Pretty action packed, and they resolve it pretty quick. But yeah, what were your thoughts on this issue?
Yeah, I too think it's very action packed. I'm just like you. I'm wondering, like, I keep thinking that this is the run right now. Like, this set of 4 or 5 comics is where Jason Aaron is taking all the seeds and finishing it up, right? And each time right when it's about to end, they kind of like pause and they go, all right, see you in a couple months. Bye guys. It's going to be the next thing now.
Right.
Yeah.
So for me, like, I was ready for a giant battle. All the Avengers, all the multiverse masters of evil, Mephisto's thing was going to come in, and then they paused and they went. But my biggest question is this Thor the same Thor as we have? Because this Thor is the son of the Phoenix. He, in this issue, uses some magic Phoenix powers and uses fire. And in our other Donny Cates Thor issues, we've got him using the Odin Force, and we've got him using lightning, and we've got him using all these other powers, the power cosmic at one point. So I'm wondering, like, are they the same guy? Does he have all 3 things fighting inside of him? He used the Gaia, Mother Earth, to help him at one point in the Donny Cates run. So I'm now confused as to if the continuity is the same, if they're slightly off on the side, or what's going on there.
Well, they never really share whether this Avenger stories happened before or after. So they're going along. So even like in all the comics, like you have a regular standard Black Panther issue, but then you have the Avengers. That the one that the standalone Black Panther did it. Is he still with the Avengers? Is he still teaming up? When did this happen? So I think we're left to believe that, this could be happening way after this Thor arc, or maybe before. He's just wrestling with kind of his own. So there's a little bit of continuity there, but you're right. It's a different kind of Thor, and he at least has the same costume on as like Cates's run. So we know it's not before Kate, but where he is with his hammer and all that stuff, he's just wrestling with the Phoenix and like his place, who's his real mom kind of thing, with this issue, and where that happened before or after, I'm not sure.
So I don't know if this is a conclusive answer to the question, but like just how I read it going forward is like this Thor feels different. Like he's still angsty and he's still got parental issues and your standard Thor fare. But like he's dealing with an entire other side of his like consternation, I guess, like
his identity. He's still
exactly like, so like this is all about his mommy issues, and his solo book is all about his daddy issues. It's like, the
man's got a lot going on.
Exactly. And we were, we now have the worthiest group text in the world. And when we were talking about it earlier, I'm like, Thor is so powered in these recent years. Like Faz mentioned, he has the Odin Force in one issue, and he possesses the Phoenix Force in the other. And these issues were 2 weeks apart.
Yeah.
So like, and even at the beginning of Donny Cates's run, he possesses the power cosmic. Like Thor may be the most overpowered Avenger of all time, and yet it's like how could he not beat all of these multiverse masters of evil at the same time? Like
unless you have the Doomest of Doom and the darkest Phoenix of the darkest Phoenix and the evilest of evil Thor from the evilest multiverse universe you've ever had, then they can go up against
if we just keep adding adjectives and hyperbole to everything, then he surely can't win. And like, but let's let's spin that off into a 4-part story that we won't find
even resolution. The Dark Phoenix is kind of like, oh, you've said that before, I've heard you say that hundreds of times.
That was the line. It was just like, of course, Thor, it's like comic book writing 101. The hero has to say, I won't lose. And the multiverse guy has to say, oh, that's what they all say. And then it's like page later, oh, Thor was right and he beat him. And where do we go from here? Like and it kind of feels like they reference, so correlating it to something else that Jason Aaron's doing right now, they referenced Ghost Rider at the end. They're like, oh, Ghost Rider's off doing his own thing. Like, and I had to stop for a second and I'd be like, oh, right. Avengers Forever is still happening.
That's right. And, and that ties in a little bit. That's Jason Aaron too. So that ties into like, who is this mystery of Avenger Prime? They've been talking about that over in that book too, about who's the mystery of Avenger Prime. The thing here with this book, yeah, you get some good Thor moments and they get some resolution with some of the characters and Submariner and that kind of thing. But then what the multiverse masters of evil thought they killed all the Deathlocks, but they didn't. There's one still survived, barely hanging on. He's able to download his software, hardware, whatever, into Avengers Mountain to the Celestial. So now you have the Celestial, who we thought was created but destroyed, is kind of recreated with the Deathlocks, like downloading the hardware, software down on that. So that's kind of a cool little thing that they moved to propel the forward.
Yeah, why not?
We're still building towards Judgment Day, what that means, and the Doomus of Doom. I don't know, but I guess I should have known that it wasn't going to be all resolved. But it's been fun, and they keep building. They aged up Starbrand and moved along and added some people, and we'll see what happens next.
In an Avenger book, this feels like it's the most Thor-centric Avengers book, because Thor's really the only one that fights.
Yeah,
like I figured we were going to get to see Starbrand fight. I figured Iron Man and Cap and all of them were going to come back and, like you said, fight the multiverse masters of evil. And Thor's really the only one that gets a big fight scene at the end. I mean, it's a cool fight scene, but it's rather quick. He dispatches this dark version of himself with the Phoenix Force, because Echo tells him, like, you know what you really are. And he's like, oh, fine, and then he goes, like we've said in previous episodes, he goes Super Saiyan, and then he just beats him. And then the last few pages, like, oh, well, that was weird. Like, hey, should we fight the Serpent Society next? I guess we will. Like,
on to the next group. Yeah, and I do think Jason Aaron is pulling from, like, he even pulled the orb from, like, his run on Original Sin too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so he's definitely pulling in something from years ago, a story arc that he wrote, with the Watcher's Eye and who has the real sight and Mephisto, and it goes back to the beginning of his prehistoric Avengers, and so he's tying it all together. I guess my nitpick, my critical thinking is kind of like, all right, you're building so much, let's resolve some other things before we move on to the next. There's a lot of cool ideas, but we just kind of rush from one cool idea to the next that I'm a little like, okay, where are we now? What's going on? What's the big event next? So
unless if the final issue is going to be some just gigantic fight with every possible villain they could possibly have, going through a whole bunch of different themes and plans, I don't know how it'll all connect, because you're right, like none of the big arcs have had huge satisfying conclusions. They've all partially concluded, and we'll see them down the road somewhere.
Right.
And I think that's something where like, I mean, all three of us on this call right now, like, we are Jason Aaron fans. We want him to write good stories. We love his stories, but like, conclusion, give us a conclusion. And then, like, and then let's move forward in a way that like makes sense. Like, okay, we dealt with that threat. Now moving on. Like, the I'm looking at the preview page for the next issue. It's like, the Serpent Society, like, are we doing this again? And like, Nighthawk from the Squadron Supreme, I'm like, well, I'm not gonna lie, that doesn't get me as excited. Like, but it feels like the Avenger issues are kind of like a tease, but it's a tease that never pays off. It's like if you went to a steak restaurant and it's like the whole room is filled with sizzle, and they hand you like an itty bitty steak. It's like, yeah, it's still steak, but you promised a lot of steak with the sizzle. That's kind of,
I want a ribeye, man. I want a ribeye.
I want half
And
of a dead animal on my table.
maybe
And-
Ryan, you're right. Maybe it really is like, if you like these stories, go to their solo books and see what they're doing, like the Ghost Rider ones that are going, and like the prehistoric Avengers and all that stuff. Maybe it is just a get you hyped for these characters and then go out, but that's not what we want them to be. You know, these stories are great ideas.
yeah, yeah.
And it seems like if you give them, if this story arc is 2 more books long, it's going to be one of the best ones the Avengers have done. But instead, it's
Yes.
stopping now and moving on, right?
Yeah, yeah. If yes, you know what? I think that's a good way of saying it. It felt premature. Like maybe this, rarely do story arcs not go long enough. And I feel like this is one where, like, hey, if you pace it out for a few more and we get some resolution, we see all the Masters of Evil fight all of the 616 Avengers, like then you have this big clash, and it's like, that feels more conclusive. But we have we need to talk about the last issue we're going to talk about today, and Faz is going to tell us what that last issue is, because he and I are completely stoked out of our minds about it, and we really don't even know why, because it's just so gosh darn cute. But like, Faz, lay it on us, man.
All right, guys, this is probably the most important comic book that's ever been made. It's called Alligator Loki #1, and what it is Thor and Loki. It's really small, it's short, it's quick, it's fun. There's no actual dialogue. Thor and Loki are fighting. Loki runs through a portal, and alligator Loki flies out and lands on Thor's chest. Are they going to fight? Are they going to be a big battle? He is so happy that he just Thor takes him to a theme park. They have a great time bonding. It's amazing. I love it.
Literally, the Infinity comic is called Family Bonding. And like they ride Rainbow Bridge roller coasters, and little alligator Loki gets a toy hammer. Like it's the most adorable book. If you have Marvel Unlimited, you can get access to the Infinity comics. The Infinity comics are done really, really well. So it's a scrolling comic. So that is a great thing to go read. It's just a fun little short, maybe minute. It may take a minute to scroll through it. But Faz and I were really excited about that, and we wanted to let you guys know that if you have Marvel Unlimited, you should definitely go check that out. There is a lot of different
Loki Alligator is the kind of the hit of the Loki series on Disney Plus. So
right?
If you can imagine that being kind of one of the stars that comes out of the Loki TV
it's the
series.
Perfect cash-in moment.
Someone in the house of ideas sitting around the table is like, I got an alligator Loki story if you want it. And they're like, okay, cool, go for it. Right.
And they gave it to one of my favorite writers right now. It's funny. It has a writer, which I know they pacing and scripting for how the story looks, but there's actually no dialogue. There's no narration. There's no words in the whole comic. But we'll say the storyteller of this issue was Alyssa Wong, who is kind of a up and coming, talent who's taking books by storm. One of the books that I've been reading recently is the new Iron Fist limited series. I believe it's a limited series with the new Iron Fist. She's writing that book, and it is great. A lot of fun, and she takes her turn at Alligator Loki. So yeah, a great little book to kind of give us a fun vibe from the world of Thor. We've had a lot of heavy issues of both Avengers and Thor lately. So we thought we'd throw Alligator Loki in there at the end just to give you a fun little read. But we have got some great new comics coming up in the next few months. We got Banner of War coming up. Before then, Thor 750. Hopefully the gang will all be back together to do a big spectacular with that that mega super god-sized planet altering super mega awesome 60th anniversary issue. We have a lot to look forward to. I hope that you have enjoyed today's episode. I want to thank my co-pilots. We are kind of like a Warriors 3 here. I want to thank Will. I want to thank Faz for joining us on New Comics Day. Be sure to go check them out on their social medias. Guys, you want to promote yourselves shamelessly to our audience here. Faz, why don't we start with you, man?
Sure. Fazguardian on Instagram. It's con season starting. I'm going to go to Toronto Comic-Con this weekend, so hopefully I'll see some of you guys there, and I'll be getting to take the Dark World suit out in public, so it'll be nice.
Yes. So excited for that, man.
Yeah, and I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, just under Will Rose, and also a part of the team at Systematic Ecology. So if you want to go down some deeper roads when it comes to comics and the geek genre and geek culture, pop culture, and philosophy and theology, we talk about what we geek out on, and then also dive into some of the questions as it relate to faith and philosophy and the questions we all wrestle with.
So what you guys got good stuff coming up? I'm sure we're getting into new Marvel TV shows. Moon Knight is coming out soon. We just had a great Batman movie. Yeah. I'm sure you guys are just absolutely killing it over there. Man, Faz is about to hit up some cons. We got a lot of stuff going on here, guys. And we will definitely be back together to talk about Thor, new comics, and we are in for a wild summer when it comes to Thor comics. So the guys will be back, and we will definitely fill you guys in on what you should be reading in the world of Thor. But until we see you again, dear listeners aboard the Rainbow Bridge, we remind you to stay worthy.